Every time her husband brought up divorce, he had only one demand: all property goes to him, and he only wants their daughter because he knew Sarah couldn't bear to part with her. Until on Sarah's birthday she saw David taking their daughter and his first love at a restaurant. Their daughter was eating pastries Lisa brought and said with a smile, "I wish Aunt Lisa was my mommy instead." David smiled while serving them food, his gaze always tenderly falling on the woman across from him. At that moment, she suddenly felt exhausted. She didn't disturb them and turned to leave. Back at the villa she prepared divorce papers. 7 years of marriage only to be betrayed. It was time for her to wake up. She put the papers in an envelope, told Mrs. Johnson to give them to David. Then Sarah took her luggage and headed to the airport. After 9 that night, David came home. Lily was playing with Lisa's bracelet. He got out of the car slowly because with Sarah there he actually didn't want to come home tonight. "Daddy, tomorrow we are going out to sea. What if mommy insists on coming with us?" "Your mommy won't do that." Lily finally relaxed and, unlike before, bounced happily into the living room. Inside, Mrs. Johnson remembered Sarah's instructions and handed the envelope to David. "Sir, this is from your wife. She said she had something to do and went back first." David held the envelope and paused for a moment. "She actually left." He didn't know why Sarah suddenly came over, and he didn't care. Knowing she left didn't bring him relief either. Lily was a bit surprised though. She was thinking if Sarah didn't tag along tomorrow, having mommy at night would actually be nice. Besides, the gift for Aunt Lisa wasn't finished yet, and she wanted mommy to help complete it. David didn't say anything more and took his daughter upstairs. Back in his room, he was about to open Sarah's letter when Lisa suddenly called. After answering, he casually tossed the envelope aside and walked out. The next day, when Mrs. Johnson came to clean, she saw the familiar envelope on the floor. She assumed David had read it and put it in the nearby cabinet. Meanwhile, Sarah got off the plane and went straight home to pack. She only took a few outfits and some professional books. After marriage, David gave her living expenses every month. But Sarah's heart was full of her husband and daughter, so what he gave, she mostly spent on the two of them. However, over the past year, since their daughter mostly stayed with David abroad, Sarah had fewer chances to buy things for them. Now there was still about 30 million left in her card. It was her money anyway, so she transferred it all. Then she took her luggage and left without looking back. She had bought an apartment near the company before with regular cleaning service, so it was ready to move in. After 10 at night, Sarah freshened up and went to rest in her room. Suddenly, a piercing alarm went off. She woke with a jolt, her mind blank for a moment. After coming to, she realized it was 1 in the morning locally, where David and her daughter were. It was past 7 in the morning. They usually had breakfast at this time, so Sarah would call her daughter at this hour. At first, her daughter wasn't used to being abroad and had a lot to say. But as time went on, her daughter became dismissive and impatient. This alarm really didn't need to be set anymore. It was just Sarah who couldn't let go. Thinking of this, she smiled bitterly, then deleted the alarm and went back to sleep. Meanwhile, David noticed Sarah didn't call today, but he didn't care. After breakfast, he went upstairs to change. Lily found mommy nagging and didn't like talking to her on the phone anymore. Seeing Sarah didn't call today, she figured she might be busy. Her eyes rolled around as she grabbed her backpack and ran toward the door. Mrs. Johnson quickly followed. "Miss, it's still early. You can leave later." But Lily didn't listen and happily ran to the car. If mommy calls, she have to chat with her again. She didn't want that. Meanwhile, Sarah woke up and went to work at the Smith Corporation. Back then, for David's sake, she joined the company. Now that they were divorcing, there was no reason to stay. Jack was one of David's personal secretaries. When he saw Sarah's resignation letter, he was quite surprised. He was one of the few who knew about their relationship. When Sarah first joined, he worried she would cause chaos in the secretary department, but she exceeded his expectations. Sarah was excellent at her job. Within a few years, he became head of the secretary department, and her feelings for David he had seen all along. To be honest, Jack never thought Sarah would resign. Maybe something happened between them. Perhaps David asked her to resign. Although ashamed, Jack remained professional. "I've received this. I'll arrange someone to take over your work as soon as possible." Sarah nodded and went back to her desk. After being busy for a while, Jack reported to David online. When they were almost done, he was about to mention Sarah's resignation, but then remembered David once said that everything regarding Sarah at the company should follow company procedures, so there was no need to specially report to him. Seeing Jack hesitate, David frowned. "Is there anything else?" Jack snapped back and quickly said it was nothing. He assumed David ordered Sarah to resign, but since David didn't bring it up, it meant to handle it per company policy as usual. That evening after work, Sarah went to the market and bought some vegetables and a few plants, then went home. After dinner, she checked online for Tech Expo news. After reading, she made a phone call. "Save me a ticket for next month's Tech Expo." The voice on the other end was cold. "Are you sure? The last 2 times you asked me to save you a ticket, but you never showed. So many people dream of getting those tickets, and you just wasted them. This time I won't show up either, and I'll never ask you again." The other end hung up without a word, but Sarah knew that meant yes. What she didn't say was that she wanted to return to her company as a company partner. Sarah chose to get married and have a child when the company was just starting and faded from the company. She had been out of the loop for too long. Going back now, she might not keep up with their pace, so she planned to understand the current industry situation before deciding. Over the next few days, Sarah worked regular hours and never reached out to her daughter or David. Of course, they didn't contact her either. Meanwhile, abroad, Lily now called Lisa every morning. One day she hadn't talked to Lisa long before bursting into tears because Lisa was going back to the States. Lily called David right after talking to Lisa. "Dad, did you know about this?" The man in his office flipped through files and said he knew. Lily sadly hugged her little pink pillow, crying nonstop. "Daddy, why didn't you tell me? I can't bear to lose Aunt Lisa. I don't want to go to school here anymore. I want to go back to," David replied calmly. "It's already being arranged. We're going back next week." Lily jumped up from the bed. "Really? Then why didn't Aunt Lisa tell me just now? Things just got finalized." "She hasn't had time to tell you yet." Lily was thrilled. "Then Daddy, don't tell Aunt Lisa about this yet. Let's surprise her when we get back." After hanging up, Lily was still very happy. She suddenly thought of Sarah. These past few days since Mommy hadn't called, her mood had been great. But after so many days, she suddenly missed Mommy a little. Thinking of this, she called. But as soon as she dialed, she suddenly realized that once back home, both Mommy and Aunt Lisa would be there, and she couldn't see Aunt Lisa anytime she wanted. Thinking about this, her mood suddenly worsened. At this time, it was early morning back home. Sarah was woken by Lily's call. Just as she was about to answer, the other end hung up abruptly. Sarah had given up custody of Lily, but she was still her daughter. She worried something might have happened and quickly called back. Lily saw the call but turned away, refusing to answer. Sarah got more worried and called the villa landline instead. Mrs. Johnson answered quickly. "Hello, is Lily there? She just called me." "Oh, Mrs. Smith, the young miss is in her room. She's fine. It was probably just an accidental misdial." Sarah finally felt relieved, but after being suddenly woken up, she couldn't fall back asleep for a long time. On the day of their return, David put the last document in his briefcase, turned and went downstairs. "We're ready, let's go." As for that envelope with the divorce papers, David never thought about it again since that day. Meanwhile, Sarah was walking aimlessly around the mall when a familiar voice called out to her. Chris smiled at her. "How have you been?" "Pretty good. Just getting ready for a divorce." Chris didn't expect to hear such an answer. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. So what are your plans? Do you want to come back to the company?" Sarah hesitated. "I do have that plan, but..." Chris didn't know what her concerns were but told her seriously. "The company is partly yours. I hope you can come back and take charge." Looking at his serious face, Sarah felt troubled. It wasn't that she didn't want to, but AI was developing too fast. She had been out of the industry for 6 years. Going back now, she feared she couldn't keep up. Chris sensed what she was worried about but didn't say it outright. He told her sincerely, "Even if you're behind, it doesn't matter. Your skills and talent are beyond ordinary geniuses. As long as you still want to pursue this path, it's not too late to start fresh now. Don't forget you were the professor's favorite student in his entire teaching career." After hearing this, she finally smiled. Taking a deep breath, she nodded. "All right, I'll come back to the company, but I still need to hand over my current job. It might take a while." Chris gladly agreed. "No problem, we'll wait for you. You should know back then Sarah skipped 3 grades and graduated before 18 from the top university in the country. The company was founded under her leadership and secured several patents right from the start. As long as she could come back, waiting a while was worth it." They chatted a bit more, then parted ways. That night around midnight, David and Lily arrived at their home. He carried the sleeping Lily to her room, then returned to the master bedroom only to find no one there. He loosened his tie and asked the butler where Sarah was. "Where is Sarah?" "Mrs. Smith went on a business trip half a month ago. When Sarah was packing to leave, he happened not to be there. Other villa staff said she left with luggage, so he assumed she was on a business trip." David hummed in response and didn't ask more. The next day when David arrived at the company, he ran into Sarah. Unexpectedly, seeing him, Sarah's steps suddenly halted. There was some surprise in David's eyes too. He just assumed she was back from her trip and didn't think much, coldly walking past her and turning into the company. Before, if she knew he was back, she would have been thrilled, but now she just calmly watched his back. Since he was back, the divorce could probably move forward soon. Sarah didn't think about it too much and returned to her desk to work. Half an hour later, Jack called. "Secretary Smith, please make 2 cups of coffee and bring them to Mr. Smith's office." After Sarah made the coffee and took it to David, she saw Lisa sitting on his lap.